everybody. Welcome to the special town board meeting. Here we are on the 30th of September, 2024. We don't usually start a special board meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, or do we, Bart? We do? Well, if you would please indulge me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I've had some people ask, where's the agenda? The agenda would have one line on it. Consideration of Shady Harbor Marina, so there's not a multiple line out there, so please indulge us on that. And I think that's how we announced it last week. And so we're going to go forward. The first thing that we're going to do, actually, I'll say first, I want to introduce Kathy and Brian Donovan, and I can't remember the particular names of the people from Lansing. Scott, thank you. And anyone else with yourself?
And Alice Becky.
Alice Becky. Yes, we spoke.
Marina man.
So the board may very well have questions as we go down our checklist, okay, of any one of you. So please be prepared. There are 5 seats right here that you could occupy. So you can go anywhere you want. We'll be fine. Okay, so I'm going to go down Article 8 of the Town Code. I'm going to follow it along fairly closely. I'm not going to get into the first couple sections because they get into this is to encourage innovation. And I mean, it's a preamble that doesn't get into much details. Okay, so it tells us objectives. And I'm going to read from it directly. But I'm going to go to section 11240 for those that have the page. Okay, general requirements for the plan development district. Minimum project area is 10 acres. And so in this particular circumstances, we are talking about 10.7 acres. So we are in excess of that proviso. Okay, or project ownership. It's well described. Kathy and Brian Donovan are the owners. The project land may be owned, leased, or represented either by a single person or corporation or a group of individuals or corporations. Such ownership may be public or private. And I think we have that represented here rather well. Location of Plan Development District. The PDD shall be available in all zones where the applicant can demonstrate that the characteristics of the land holdings meet the purpose and objectives of this chapter and the objectives of the comprehensive plan. I think we've met that as well. Any one of you on the board here can pipe in and ask questions as we go through this, please. I don't want to do all the talking. I hear myself too much. In no case shall PDD be approved if, in the judgment of the town board, the objectives of this section are not realized in the PDD design. Do you have any thoughts or questions on that? I think the next one will have a little bit of issues, and I think we've had a lot more to discuss on this in the past. And it says, in no case shall PDD be approved unless a common water supply and or sanitary sewer system are available or proposed to serve the development. Now, we already have the sanitary sewer system in place. Okay, and according to my information, the sewer system can accommodate the needs of these dwellings. The only question is that there is no actual water district or supply there, aside from the existing well, which I don't think would be suitable based upon what you folks have told me in the past. And we have a conversed water district, but we don't have a proposal for one. So we're a long ways from that. So I'm going to ask those on the board, where do we go with this?
Well, we haven't done the engineering study either of if water can come up from Klamath, and that's 45,000.
Yes, there is a proposal. I have been in conversation with our engineers to do an engineering plan for the water that comes up as described from the Queens-Town line to the boathouse, marina, The cost of the engineering is approximately $45,000. That's an estimate from Delaware Engineering. So in order for us to have a water supply system, we have to approve a $45,000 study. That just tells us, how we can do it and if we can do it and all the other questions in between. And we haven't contracted with them yet. And I didn't know what the intentions of yourselves were. I was informed, maybe I was informed wrong, and I'm glad you're here to tell me. There was something you spoke about at the last planning board meeting that you have an alternate water supply, and I wasn't sure what that was. This water supply doesn't involve town of New Baltimore doing things, maybe I heard wrong.
No, and my name's Alex Betke, the attorney for the project here. So two things on this, I guess, is that one of the avenues that the project wants to take is we want to, listen, if we wanted to go down this route and do the public water supply system, it's something that, I'll talk with my client about in terms of how those studies and funding for that all plays out. But in terms of you talking about a private or an alternate water source, there is an opportunity for the project to be a private line at their cost to the Ravenna water main. It's a substantial cost for them.
Yeah.
But that is an option for them to do if they so choose, I guess, and develop their own water source for the project. Now, when we talk about this water issue and what we have before you, we understand that the PDD would need to be qualified upon the receiving of, or the acceptance of water to that property. One of the things in terms of going after, whether it's additional funding or other means to do this, we just need to know kind of through this process, even if you were to decide at the end of all of this to approve it conditioned upon the acceptance of water, it's something that my client just kind of needs to understand a little bit from you guys as to where and what you would like to see in terms of this project, so that we can develop the plans necessary to start having conversations with whether it's your engineering firm or the state to see if there's any additional dollars out there for the running of a public system or even just a private system. But under no circumstance do we know that we can get an approval of this project without water to the site.
I think without water, that is.
Yeah,
in fact,
we
I believe
understand that.
Kathy and Brian told me without water, it's a showstopper.
It's
And on my part, I've been pursuing opportunities, possibilities is probably a better way to put it, for water. Okay, again, I've had multiple meetings with the IDA, multiple meetings with Greene County, meetings with Delaware Engineering, who has been our project engineer for multiple water system and sewer system endeavors. They keep our water flowing in town, both in and out. So
right.
I do think that, Section E of 11240, without having, you don't have to have the water, but we have to have a formal proposal for how we're going to do
How
things.
it's done, right.
So moving the application along would have to have some sort of a contingency. I mean, I don't know what you folks think here. God, do I do?
No, I agree. It needs to be, we need to have something in writing about exactly how the water's coming from and who's gonna pay for it.
Yeah, yeah, we do. Obviously, we have discussed some opportunities here in this town board setting. We have something called the chippy money. Chippy money will not be in our pockets until at least 2027, probably. They floated out 25, and then they said 26, and now they're more into 27. The chippy money is known as the Champlain Hudson Power Express, yeah. Thank you. And for those power line running through our town from the north side of the town along the railroad tracks to the south end of at the Queens line, the town will be receiving about $206,000 a year with a 2.5% riser, and every year going 20, 30 years out. I mean, and we have to use the $200,000 for two things. They have to both be there. Economic development and infrastructure. Has to be both. And as I've said in this setting, we've had water proposals in two different sections of 9W at the Ravenna side and at the Cooksaki side of 9W. And this is the third one. Okay. So we haven't finalized things. I don't have an engineering study for the other two. It's a little bit different. Each of them are different because of Delaware Engineering has done work up on different places in the town in times gone by, 20 years ago, 12 years ago, etc. So they are pulling some things off the shelf, which is saving us money on engineering, thankfully. So that is, at this particular moment, is an issue. If we go forward with a resolution, it'll have to have a caveat that makes a contingency for section E, okay? Is there any questions from, I know some of you wanted to have, you had lots of questions, if I'm not mistaken.
I have a question. So
Ask them.
if the CHIPY money has to be for infrastructure and it's a private line, it won't be usable, right?
I tend to doubt it. No, I mean, it wouldn't be, that's conversations that we're going to have to sit down and have with us, because the line would run, in essence, up 144. And it's going to pass a number of homes.
Yes.
Okay, if it's a private line, then I don't know how others in the public would tie into it.
Well, they would have to have an agreement with my client to be able to tie into that.
Right. And if they don't, I mean, if it's a semi-public, let's just say, semi-public private, then it's going to have the availability. What I would prefer not to do is, well, I would like to have those residents who live along the way to have an option of tapping into it, and no one to be forced to tap into it.
I think
And that would be my preference.
my client would like that preference too, as long as they contribute to the cost. But
At the point, no, I agree. At the point at which, well, in our, there are other factors of law, okay? We would create a district, but not make it inclusive of any parcels that don't want to. But the district would include parcels that do want to. And they would have to pay a portion, prorated based upon the size and all those things, such as we have now, probably metered, would be what my expectation would be. And so if you use a lot more, you're gonna pay a lot more. If you only use a little, you pay proportionally.
And if it's a private line and something happens, like a water main break,
it's
it
on
would be
us.
yeah.
So then the other thing you're looking at, you're gonna have to get easements on all those properties, correct?
It'll probably be run down the highway easement, so it'd be a DOT easement.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, we'd have a highway work permit. And then what would happen is if anybody wanted to tie into that line, they would do at their own, at their own cost, well, their own cost, and have their own private line that can then connect into that, which would then also incur a DOT permit as well,
So my next question is, have you ever done this before, like gone out and gotten water from a municipality?
Yes.
I mean, like how,
I was village attorney in Catskill for years. So, I've
Well,
done,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Because even if you say you're going private, there's no definite that it would come through, right? Because you still would have to talk to Ravina. I don't
you'd
know
have to
how
have,
that-
we would have to make what would happen is,
Sorry.
we would have to make a contractual relationship with the village of Ravina.
So, but that usually goes through without an issue, you know what I'm saying? Like, does
It-
that,
There's issues, I mean, it's a contractual
right.
relationship, so, it's something that we would have to negotiate with them. Listen, I think our preference would be that it's a public line
Right.
and that everybody gets served by it and that, but if you're suggesting that, how are we looking at the different alternative ways to get water to the site? One is a private line.
Right.
And if it's a private line, one of the issues that I think we would have to deal with is what's the volume and capacity of the line that we could install? What's the cost of that line? And then what is Ravina willing to supply for that private line in terms of a yearly gallons per, a gallon per year, gallon per day type of volume, that we would then have that being able to be guaranteed that for that year.
Right.
And how many years, there's
Right.
there's a lot
No, I
to
get
go
that.
into that, but
My whole thought process was like, does it usually go through when somebody asks to bank into like a water supply, that you're not a municipality, so now you're going to
Yeah.
a municipality? Do they usually go, I know the contract stuff.
it usually goes mostly because, like, in this case, Ravina has the water supply. If they have, as long as they have they have enough excess water, they can sell it. And they'll, and what'll happen too is that the project, instead of the town, in terms of a private line, instead of the town or the district being the ones that guarantee the payment back to Ravina, here it would be this project that guarantees back to Ravina that they would make the payment of the water. And what would typically happen is that there would be a meter where that private line connects to the Ravina system.
Mhm.
And then that's where that water would be charged, is back there. And then what we would do on our end, we would have our own private meters, I guess, in each of those buildings
Mhm.
to then be able to divvy up how that water would be then
Okay, at those home sites.
at the home sites.
Yeah.
But the main meter would be at that connection potentially with Ravina. And then they would just get that bill directly. This is how much water left the Ravina system and onto our private.
And how would you manage it if there were persons or parcels along the way who would want to tie in? They would have to have their own meter, and
They
who's
would have
gonna
to have
be
their own
doing the
meter.
billing for all this?
Well, I mean, that's why I think, our
It's a little
preference
lazy,
is,
yeah.
our preference is this to be a public line, but, to the extent that anybody wants to contribute to it and wants to be a part of it, I mean, that's just something that we would have to work out with those individual homeowners.
So,
Has anybody talked to Ravina or are they?
We've had an initial conversation.
And
with
they
them.
have the water supply to do
Yes.
this?
They claim.
They
We had,
claim-
we haven't done our engineering reports
Right,
and
yeah.
they, we haven't gotten that level of detail yet, but they claim to, yes.
I've had an unofficial conversation with one of the principals, and I've heard similar points, that they have the capacity. Of course, I'm not talking to the village, there's been no village board
Right.
resolution or approvals.
Yeah, nor we put one in front of them for anything. I think we're pretty far away from that, to be honest with you,
But the
so.
potential's there.
But the potential's there, they are very willing to talk to us and wanna see it, they see it as a revenue, I mean, it's called what it is.
So this is the auditor in me, so if you put the water line in.
Yeah.
Or we put it, or it goes through the town, is the water line specific to the number of people on that water
Well-
line? So I guess I'm asking you, if it goes private, will the water line be smaller? So that it just.
What I think would happen before we put that water line in is because it would be programmed and engineered
Right,
to only serve this
right,
project, right? But if we were to go in and seek contribution from homeowners along the way, then we could appropriately size it, but we would hopefully get that to before we put the line in.
right,
So that if anybody during that wanted to contribute to the project and tie into it, you know, we could have those discussions during that time period.
And that's, I'm just looking down the
Yeah.
road,
Exactly.
you know what I mean?
It'd be
So-
very hard if I think, for my client to have the expense to oversize a pipe that would, capture everybody.
Well, I'll counter that a little bit, because the cost of installation is in the digging. The pipe is only a marginal increase, just so you know.
Understood.
Yeah, and probably the right of ways and all the other factors along the way.
There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah. But, you know, she called it, one of the engineers with Delaware Engineering called it, used the term back of the envelope estimate.
Yep.
Which is what I had. Actually made mention of in previous board meetings. She said, from point A to the Shady Harbor Marina, about 4.3 million.
I wouldn't think that they're that far off.
And, you know, just to let you know, the chipping money.
If that was done through a municipal contract, I think if it was done privately, it could be done a lot cheaper.
Probably so. The chipping monies, at the 200,000 provides us, I mean, I did a backwards conversation with the Bank of Greene County, their bonding people. And, if I told them if I had $200,000 to spend every year, to give you in payment towards a bond, how big a bond could I get? And it's a backwards way to look at it. And, nevertheless, they told me, depending upon interest rates and where they rise or fall, somewhere between, he estimated 3.1 to 3.3 million. So that would imply roughly a $1 to $1.2 million variance.
Yep.
So, I mean, obviously, you know, from a town official, if we're going to put monies into a project that are, in essence, town monies, I want to have the greatest amount of benefit, inclusive of residents who may wish to have it.
Absolutely.
Now, I've heard from folks who don't want it. I've heard from folks who do want it. And I've heard there's a host of people who really, really want it. I have not done a survey, who live further than the boathouse. And so with that information, I've asked the same source in Delaware Engineering, okay, how much would it cost to go, and I said Main Street. And she gave me a rough idea. If we were to go all the way down Main Street to approximately Church Street, give or take a little, that's 5.3 million, which wasn't so bad. I mean, I thought it'd be double, but it wasn't so bad of a difference. But that's what we're faced with right now. And again, I don't have any idea what the preference of the people at the top of the hill by where I'm sure that the lines would, you know, when they come to the escarpment area where your driveway is, it would, you know, end there, some near your driveway, I expect. Going further along, you know, I have no idea what the people want, except I know people along the way between the town line, county line, and your place. I'd say more don't want it than do, based upon people that have said things to me. Just for, well, again, it's not
Sure.
official. It's not an official survey. I don't want to imply that. All right, what else do we have here? What else do you want to talk about?
I have a question. So in the past, when you've done the private lines, have you had people tie in, and do they end up paying for like cost of meters and things like that, or is that part of your?
It depends. Like I've done them where there have been existing lines, so there's legacy costs that go into some of that. But yeah, typically the homeowner, when they want to tie into that, here's how much the meter costs, here's how much the line costs, and then here's what the overall project costs, and you're gonna pay your percentage of that.
Just so you know, oh, I'm sorry, go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, is that upfront, or is that
Upfront.
kind of put into a monthly kind of, or, you know?
I guess that would depend on how my client wanted to do it. I've seen it both ways, where it's been paid over time, and others that have said, no, it's a one-time $10,000 hookup fee or whatever.
So, this isn't so much on where the water's coming from, but the road that goes from 144 down, is that their road or is that our road?
Private,
It's a private.
It is
road.
private.
private road. We don't plow it, we don't maintain it.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking where this said that if a road crosses it, we can't make it a PDD. So I couldn't remember I knew there was a sign at the end, but I couldn't remember what color it was, so I just wanted to make sure.
You know, just as a preference, if I had things my way, and this is whether it's a private or a public property or mine, just would like, for the sake of the community, to have at least one, if not two, fire hydrants, because you can always have, you can never have too many, but I wouldn't mind having such a thing available. If for the sake of the community, for the fire department, have a place to fill up.
Sure.
They do have the.
We would have to, we would talk, we would have to enter into some agreement with you on that, on the use of the fire hydrants because of liability issues if one of them were to break or
Oh, yeah.
on the private line. So but I don't.
It's minor.
I can talk for you
That's a
that-
minor detail. That's not really gonna be that troublesome along the way. We do have a dry hydrant down by the,
Sure.
by the park.
Yep.
And, aside from that, they go into Queens, so they go up to 9W and fill up.
Yeah, I don't think you'll find my client
Minor
very
stuff.
amenable to
Okay.
all of this.
Shall we move on to the document? It's only 18 pages there.
A couple little questions, just to get everything straight in my mind. The $45,000 engineering study, would that be for both private and public, or one or the other?
I'd say either.
Either, yeah, all of it,
It's
yeah.
one or the other. Yeah, I don't know if the engineering costs are, I mean, are you saying you would do the engineering of this water line?
We're gonna have to do an engineering report anyway on some of this, so I think it's something that we would have to kind of talk about and determine. Because, I mean, I'm assuming you're gonna need Delaware or whoever you use to review our engineering report. So, I think that, we should talk about how that engineering report should look and what we should be studying, whether that's with us talking with Delaware, if that's your town engineer that you use for this. Because if we're gonna go down a private line, we're gonna have to do that engineering for the Department of Health and DOT anyway, to get the highway work permit. So it may be more cost beneficial for my client to have that done, but I don't want to talk for them and spend all their money tonight. But
Save money for their attorney.
yeah, exactly.
So we,
So,
sorry.
but Jan, sorry, I just, to summarize that long-winded answer, I think there's a way that we can kind of work together, because I think your code calls for an escrow deposit from us anyway to do some of these reviews. So, we should just see how we can do it where it benefits both sides, I guess, on to do a study like this. I would hate to see you guys put up that.
So your proposal to do it privately with a contractual agreement with Ravina and also speak individually to homeowners, that would completely negate any reason for a public referendum, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Because it would have to be the.
For a water
municipal
district?
supply.
45,000, it would
Right.
be
For a water district.
if they put for it.
Actually, the public referendum is significantly linked to the bonding as well.
Yes.
So that $43,000 we're talking, or 45, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Is that in the $4.3 million cost that we gave? So that's additional to
That was
this.
conditional.
I know it's small, but it's
It's
still,
gotta be additional.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because I
It's
know
not
it's
part of
small,
the
but we
original
still
bond.
need, we
That
should
bonding
know.
is for it would be for the installation. That's what
Right.
that's what I asked the bank. I didn't ask about engineering stuff.
Right.
Oh, no, but I was just wondering, we're throwing out two figures, 4.3 and 5.3. I just want to make sure we as the board know what's in that.
Not for
4.2.
nothing. I mean, the risk of this is, okay, we say we're gonna do the engineering. We vote on it and we hire Delaware Engineering, $45,000. What happens if there is no, at the end of the rainbow, no water district to be created? Who pays the $45,000? It's the town. Now, on the last go-round, 15 years ago, the engineering cost was supposed to be folded into the cost of the water district that was to be created. Because those are the people that were benefiting by it. But no water district was created. And so therefore, everybody in town paid the engineering fee. You know, so, I mean, do I want to put money up for something that doesn't happen? Well, heavens no. I wouldn't do that in my own personal life. I would avoid it as much as I could. So nevertheless, and you know, those are some of the questions we have. So if we do a resolution on behalf of hiring Delaware Engineering, I would prefer to see a caveat, you know, whereas upon, you know, that the monies would be pushed off into the water district itself. You know, it would have to go there. So I guess that's a long way around answering your question. So
If we were to ever get to the point of voting for the CHIPI funds for this or any of the other projects, does that require a public referendum on what we propose, or is
I
it something
don't
that's
know,
done
but I
with
can
the
find
board?
that out. I don't think so. But sometimes the projects, especially if they're going to be beyond the cost of that, would probably need a referendum. Yeah.
If you use the CHIPI monies to bond, they would have an ability to petition.
Yeah,
for-
permissive.
for- Right, it wouldn't be a mandatory, very few mandatory in state law as to what's a mandatory referendum.
Yeah, but bonding is. a
Bonding's a
mandatory.
permissive
Referendum.
one where if you got a petition,
Yeah, that's mandatory bonding. No.
no, it's not.
No, it's not. I beg your pardon. I had it backwards. All right. What else you have? I'm looking at you guys.
I have a question. So, since the water is kind of uncertain of how it's going to happen, can the application proceed through the process to determine if it meets all the other qualifications first? And then, if that's a yes, then we would move forward on either deciding on how we would proceed public or how we would proceed private.
Well,
Are you looking for an answer from me? Because I don't know.
I would suggest that, you know, one of the reasons that we came here, knowing that this water is like the number one thing, we think that the process can continue to go forward, because for us to do a water study first, and then you come and say, well, we don't think it meets because of X, Y, or Z another way. If we can just keep the process going, knowing on our risk, because we know that if we can't solve the water issue, you can't approve it. Even if you wanted to, you can't approve it per your code. So what we would like to do, based on our risk, we'd like to continue the process so that we can engage, get some feedback, see how the plan looks, whether you know, what we need to tweak or not tweak, because that's also gonna dictate how much water we need. Do you
And
need,
yes or no?
is there, maybe you say we only want 40 units and
Okay.
not 50, you know, so that all interplays in how we do it,
How
so.
I'm hearing you suggest this, and I'll have to confirm this, and that is that we can vote to approve the plan development district with, as I mentioned earlier, the caveats, which would basically pull the rug out from whatever we've approved prior, in essence. I mean, I don't have any dispute about your qualities as an attorney, but I would certainly want to double check with,
No question about it.
before,
When you, I mean, just the plain reading of the code says, shall approved unless. So that to me means you go through the process unless we can't have we don't have the water.
Right. So it can't be a full approval, I think is a
No.
better way to put it.
Yeah, exactly. But if we can continue to go through, I mean, the way, your code describes the PDD is we have our sketch plan that we give to you, and then you refer it over here, and then we go through this stuff, and then you refer it back to you. You create the district, then it goes back to the planning board for site plan approval. And we just want to continue that because this is we know it's gonna take some time, and it's gonna take some time for our consultants and our engineers to work with yours.
So now we know we have a particularly sticky part that we're not gonna be able to resolve the answers that we have on the water tonight. I think what we ought to do is take a look at some of the other provisions in the code. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was section E that we've been discussing. Let's move to section F. Permitted uses. All uses within a PDD district may be determined by the following provisions, and they are residents of a variety of type, including single and two-family dwellings and multifamily dwellings. Question came up about that. I know that we're talking, I've heard 50 and I heard 51. I'm not 100% sure of the number, and I'm not really troubled by, if it's one or more or less. But what are they? Are they going to be privately owned condos? Are they rentals? Is this a apartment complex? I mean, I'm not 100% sure as to what you have in mind here. Did anyone else have that question?
No.
There you go. See, they want to know too.
Multifamily dwellings, I was curious about.
I see your map, and I have it here, but I don't know.
But I'd like to see it again. If they're condominiums, I don't know if you actually get into state law, because that's what pretty much regulates condominiums.
Sure, different, yeah. But we have our own stuff too.
Nice. Good evening, Scott Lansing with Lansing Engineering. As far as the number of residential units, it is 51 units, and that there are 50 multifamily, and then up at the top of the hill by the entrance, there is an existing residence that would be number 51. As far as the units themselves, as far as condo or apartment, I don't believe the applicants have decided exactly which type of ownership there will be. If they're condominiums, they will be individually owned. If they are apartments, it will be joint ownership for all of them, and then they will be rented individually to tenants for whatever term they might have on those.
Okay, well, in essence, you're leaving your options open.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
And you still haven't made a decision, number of bedrooms or how big those apartments are gonna be, or?
That has not been determined specifically just yet. It's a mix of 1, 2s, and maybe some 3 bedrooms, but I think the thought is more in the 1 to 2 bedroom unit range. That seems to be most popular.
And I didn't think much about that one on top of the hill because it's already there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, but it is part of the PDD. We want to make sure.
Yeah.
How much land is set aside as common space?
Common space, I can get you an exact number. I don't have that exact number as far as common space. I think we're well over the 25%, which I think is something that comes up.
Yeah, the code,
25 is the minimum.
We're well beyond that, but we can get an exact number.
yeah,
25 to 50.
Yeah,
it requires 25 to 50, yes. And I'm looking at that section over here. It looks like whatever, I don't know what it looks like. but A boot, maybe, yeah.
Italy.
The opposite, yeah, not. Anyway, that looks like, but I think we would have to have that clarified,
Sure.
as well.
Yeah, we can get you an exact number.
Yeah, that would be important. All right, so let me move on then. Commercial uses, we already have commercial use in place. We have the restaurant. You have a, marina, the docking, I'm sure that's a money making. And then of course you have the little store. And you have boat repair still and storage?
Boat repair, no. There is a large boat repair garage on the parcel. That is the one part, that is the one structure that is being removed as a part of the proposal. The clubhouse clubhouse area will remain intact. I believe there's a store associated with the clubhouse. But as far as boat repair and storage on site, that is.
That won't happen any longer? Okay, as if this, and where this goes. All right. All right.
In the clubhouse, what are you, is that saying what it is, or, is that gonna be used differently?
I believe it's staying as is.
The bathhouse
Oh,
by the pool, the small
It just
building by
says-
the pool, is it?
he just mentioned the clubhouse, that's all I'm,
Well, the clubhouse could be considered the restaurant, it could be considered the ship store, and I think he's thinking of it as the bathhouse over by the pool.
oh, okay,
And yes, that would stay.
as a
For
bathhouse,
motors, and there's a laundry service in there,
okay.
people can use it.
Okay,
For the residents, really.
okay.
That's
Now,
all.
let me go to other things we talked about briefly. Common property, open space totaling not less than 25 and up to 50%. I think we fairly well addressed that, and you're gonna give us more precise figures,
Yes.
which was fine. We'll need that. This land shall be exclusive of, okay, no, that's not important. A property owners association or similar mechanism for the long-term ownership and maintenance of this common open space shall be provided. I don't recall seeing much regarding anything that resembles that.
As far as the ownership of the common area, I guess there's a couple different directions this could go. If they are condominiums, there will be a condominium owners association associated with the project that will address the ownership, operation, maintenance of those common area lands. If the project ends up being multifamily, there will be one owner for the overall parcel or the overall units. They will be rented out. That one owner will be responsible for that.
Is it possible to be mixed? Some would be owned by private and some would be owned by,
Could be.
I see a nodding head over
Possibility.
there. Okay.
Can I ask a question about the common space, just to clarify? Because the area with the parking and everything, parking doesn't count in that, but, so you're counting really the green area by the trails as the percent of count of common space?
Correct, yes, yeah, I interpreted the common open space as, in my opinion, green, open, type of area. The parking areas will still be common area, because it will be common parking amongst the residents, but I interpreted that section of the code to mean, more of,
The other side.
yeah.
How wet is it in that common area?
There are some wetlands on that area, especially in the lower part, where that trail
Oh,
goes
those
through,
would
the
be
topography
usable.
comes up and it's a little higher and drier, but on the bottom, there are wetlands.
So that wouldn't be usable as common area.
Common area, I guess it's a matter of opinion. Common area that's wet still could be a passive recreation area. It could be an area where people could hike or walk a dog or something like that. As far as development or building, no, absolutely not without a permit. As far as enjoying that land, I think it's still an enjoyable land. It's still green. It's still preserved.
Okay. Anything else? Because I'll move on if you're ready. Okay. Code section 112-41, section A. When a PDD is proposed, before any zoning building permit shall be granted, before any subdivision plat may be filed in the office of the county clerk, the prospective developer or his authorized agent shall apply for and secure approval, well, that's what we're here for tonight, of such plan development districts in accordance with the following. Well, sketch plan review, and I believe we have that here. Does anyone have questions about the sketches that we have? We have 3 separate ones. We have the topographical, then we have the aerial photo, and what do you want to call this one? The shaded areas of the shady harbor. What do you call this one? Conceptual rendering. Yeah, thank you. So we have those. Does anyone else have a question about that proviso there?
Well, it was really hard to read some of the little things, so I would have to look at this.
Yeah, sorry, the printer is the printer. So, but he has them there. You can read it better.
Well, I'll have to.
Okay. Actually, that's a good question. As this thing goes on, your placards are pretty good. They're much easier to read. Is that the only?
We can have a set delivered to
I
them.
was going to say, there's another set that we can have on display on the walls here or for others to see when they
Yeah, we
want.
can deliver.
Would be a great idea.
That's not-
Great addition. Okay.
One thing, Jeff, I would like to ask, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
I can't hear you.
Speak up.
No, I'm sorry. As far as when it goes forward, as you know, develop the area, it would be helpful to know exactly what the other uses would be planned, so I know you mentioned some, but that's.
The restaurant will stay,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know.
some of the, even if there would be a change in the
Sure.
nature of the shop or something like that, it would be very helpful for us to be able to review that.
Okay.
Any kind of changes or not. Thank you.
Okay, the sketch plan, okay, so I think we're fine with the sketch plan, at least, well, at least section 1. Section 2, during sketch plan review, the town board, in its legislative capacity, establishes the boundaries of the proposed PDD and sets limits on the nature and range of uses, geometric and site controls, and overall project planning. Specifically, the town board shall review the sketch plan according to the following criteria. A, the proposal conforms to the comprehensive plan. I've read both this, and the comprehensive plan. This is actually a subset of the comprehensive plan. These various sections that I've been referring to. But I looked throughout and I didn't see anything that was inconsistent. I don't know if anyone else's interpretation or observations are similar.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Jen.
Good. The proposal meets local and area-wide needs. Okay, needs. It implies that we need this to happen.
That's a sleep too.
Yes, everyone has a timeout. Yours is about to go off.
I was just gonna say, mine.
They don't wait for you.
You know we have an owl. Okay,
Wait a minute.
yeah, I
Only
will.
hope.
I'll go slow.
It works.
Okay, in terms of needs, I do not know of much clamor for more housing in the area. There are more houses being built in the town every year. So I guess there is, but there's not, to my knowledge, I've never been informed of this is a market where there's a lot of needs, wants maybe, desires perhaps, but, needs is another story, and so I'm not sure how you want to address that.
Well, I think as you can tell by looking at the real estate around here, things go on the market and they come off pretty quickly. I think the need for inventory is pretty substantial. I think it's just having kids around here trying to find a place. It's been brutal. So I believe that and we can demonstrate this in writing to you about the need, but I think even the county's own housing assessment need will show you that there's a definite need for, both market rate, affordable, across the board in Greene County, right now, so.
Instead of us relying upon our own observations or anecdotal observations,
We can give you
something a little more
report.
formal would be most appreciated.
Yep.
All right. The proposal meets the intents and objectives and general requirements of this section. Well, that's a little bit redundant to number A, okay, because this is a subsection of the comprehensive plan, but I don't see where this is contrary to the intent and objections. I mean, every detail in of itself is what we're going to review. Okay, so I'll go to section 3. The town board has the authority to accept or refuse to consider any PDD proposal. Once the town board has accepted a PDD sketch plan for consideration, it shall refer the sketch plan to the planning board. Such refusal or acceptance and referral shall take place within 30 days of the submittal of the PDD sketch plan. Well, we're behind that schedule, but there's no reason not to get going on it. So, I mean, we're here to discuss that tonight. So that will be yet to be determined. Why? The town board may also schedule an optional joint meeting with the planning board to be held within 45 days of the date of referral to the planning board. That we'll have to discuss as a board. Okay, so we'll be on our agenda for Monday. That part, referral to and inclusivity of the planning board. We have our planning board chair with us. And I don't see any other planning board people here, but, no. Okay, the planning board upon receipt shall have 45 days to issue an advisory. Okay, so once we submit it to you, you've got 45 days. The proposal is conceptually sound in that, the advisory report shall make a recommendation as to whether the sketch plan as submitted meets the following sketch plan for review criteria. The proposal is conceptually sound in that it conforms to accepted design principles in the proposed functional roadway and pedestrian systems, land use configuration, open space system, drainage system. I have that underlined for a reason. And scale of the elements of and scale of the elements both absolutely and to one another. Well, I asked the first question. I've not seen much conversation about drainage. Was there much, I looked at the maps and I saw a little bit of mention of it, but I don't really, it seems to me the drainage, it all goes in the river, but I'd rather hear something more formal than that.
Yeah, correct. We did provide a survey that was prepared by a licensed land surveyor, so it does show the existing topography on the site. And it's pretty much just what you said. Everything slopes right towards the river. The project does include over an acre of disturbance. So given that there is over an acre of disturbance, it would be required to prepare a stormwater pollution prevention
That's what I
plan,
was asking for.
which is about a 3-inch thick document that goes through existing proposed conditions. It requires mitigation of runoff. Given that we're right by the river, it would most likely just be water quality, not water quantity. Mitigation of quantity is pretty much useless because it just discharges right to the river. So any sort of mitigation of quantity would not apply in this particular case. So it is just quality. That is something that we usually do during the preliminary final engineering phase of a project. So that, in our opinion, would be past sketch plan, past the formal PDD application, and then when we get to the planning board at the end for the formal site plan design is when we anticipate doing that. I have zero concerns with being able to meet the requirements of the speed general permit that New York State DEC has. But again, it is something quite involved and something that we will do at a later date. What I read in the sketch plan was more of just the general intent, which is that the stormwater flows to the river. That's the way it goes
Kind of what I
now,
saw.
that's the way it will go later on, and then again later on, we would do that formally.
Well, it's kind of what I saw, but I certainly wouldn't want my observations to,
Sure.
go forward in place of your own. Okay? Okay, I'm gonna go down to sketch plan content, so let's make sure we have all of those present. Okay? The location of various uses in their areas and acres, we have that. General outline of the interior roadway system, we have that as well. And all existing rights of way and easements. I didn't see any rights of way in there. There are none.
Everything's internal, so we wouldn't give a right of way to ourselves.
Interior open space system. Overall drainage system, we just discussed. So that's also going to be proposed, okay. Topographical map, we have that here. I think maybe something a little better than what we have here in front of us. Aerial photo, you have that principal ties to the community at large with respect to transportation, water supply, and sewage disposal. Well, we talked about water supply for quite a length of time here today. Sewage disposal, we didn't give a lot of conversation, but we do have systems in place. But the transportation, aside from the transportation on your site, and you do have your roadways, the transportation outside of your boundaries, increases in traffic and over like, we haven't had much conversation of.
We, you know, again, being that this is just our sketch plan and our initial, conversation with you, we would provide a traffic study.
That's kind of where I was going.
Yeah, for you
You
guys.
said it a lot, you answered a lot quicker than I asked. Thank you.
Alex, when,
Yeah.
I understand that this is all one owner, but how is that gonna work if you go with condos? You'd have to get that easement.
Yeah, there would have to be, we'd have to develop, well, that's where the condo association would go, and probably most of the land would be transferred to that condo association for the payment, you know, much like a homeowners association. So that they would be assessed a maintenance fee, for plowing, maintaining the roads, and cutting the grass, and
I just,
all
And,
of that
you know,
stuff.
we don't have experience. I know there's massive places in Florida and New York and all these places that have condos. We don't have that experience here.
No.
So, to make sure that I have this right, each one of those condos, were it to be that way, is a separately taxed,
Separate from tax parcel, under the real property tax law. There's a condominium, I can't remember the section of law it's taxed under right now. I can't remember, but it does have, the assessor would have their own, parcel number for each condo unit, and it would have a value associated with it.
you know, in each parcel, condo, whatever you want to call it, would also be separately identified in our sewer district. Right now, we have every person in the sewer district,
Sure.
let's say most, I beg your pardon, pay 10 points per housing unit.
Okay.
And there are some two-family homes down there.
Yep.
They pay 20 points.
Sure.
And, you know, the total cost is divided by the total number of points, and that's what the charges are for each of the sewer district users. This would in essence add 50, not 51, 50 users
Sure.
to the sewer district. I don't know what additional costs would be incurred with these 50 new homes on the sewer district's lot, but I would tend to believe it wouldn't. The points are largely there for maintenance and so forth, and this will add some maintenance, but it's not a spread out thing, so I can't imagine this would be as costly as it would only be a small portion. So in essence, the users down there would have that mostly established cost of the sewer district divided by more homes. So would gain a little bit of a decrease in the sewer costs per parcel. I would have bet. I have to do the math, and we're a long way from that.
Yeah, I don't know how many, 50, really goes into a reduction, but
Not much.
you'll see some.
but that, 51st house, that's already on the sewer line?
Yeah.
No,
That's already, so that's already being charged?
Yeah, it's already.
10.
They're on the top of the hill.
Yep.
The house at the top of the hill.
Everybody.
It's Norman Bates' mother there.
Doesn't look like it has a root cellar.
No, it doesn't. Okay. So I'm gonna underline the transportation study. Okay, general description of the provision of other community facilities such as schools, fire protection services, and cultural facilities, if any, and some indication of how these needs are proposed or to be accommodated. This I'm gonna just throw in, it goes closer to where I was thinking. I was thinking about a fire hydrant at the top of the hill.
Yep.
But I would tend to believe you'd want one down there, because you got 50 homes,
No question.
Yeah.
We
if
would
not
probably,
more than one. But, who knows who's gonna move into them? Are these gonna be for seniors, or is it gonna be families? We don't know that answer, do we?
we don't know, but I don't think right now, I think right now it's being looked at as, market rate.
So who moves in is
Seniors
whoever
wanna
moves
move in, they can move in, and anybody Anybody that's looking for a place and wants it and
Willing to
they
pay.
can afford it.
All right, so the school system, I'm sure they'll look forward to being able to tax more people. Here on the eve of,
RCS.
but I can be confident, based on what I know, that RCS will not drive down that driveway.
We
The
don't
kids would have to get up
anticipate
on the top of the hill.
Yeah.
Next to
Okay,
Norman
sorry.
Bates's mother's house.
We don't have kids.
Fire protection services, I certainly think we should include the fire department, at least they're,
No
they're,
question.
they're already involved in the case there's an emergency down there, so
No
I don't think
question.
that's gonna be an additive.
I think we would also like to make sure that they feel that they can adequately get to the buildings if
Right.
needed and that everything's
Right.
spaced properly.
And
So-
they already, I've never heard where they have a concern about getting there.
No.
At this
But-
point, and it's, the
Just make sure
roadway,
that the plan works for them and we're very committed to the local fire
right,
department.
cultural facilities, I'm not sure, where we are with that, but a location, a map showing, ownership of abutting lands. What's that?
Is it part of our,
I didn't see-
I don't see that.
I don't see it, but, it can be easily accomplished, unless it's in here and I just can't see it.
Oh, wait, he's got another.
We have more poster board.
Oh, okay,
See? Asking you shall receive.
Exactly.
yeah, I seen that too, but those other names are there? Good heavens,
They're not, we'll have to make sure those
Yeah.
are.
Well, if we can update that.
because it is, at least for what we have here, you're not gonna see it. Okay. Preliminary use and dimensional requirements, including permitted uses, conditional and accessory, this is my page, and accessory uses. Maximum development intensity of residential uses. Floor area ratio for non-residential uses. Okay, where are we on any of these? I mean, what do you want to say about permitted uses?
We would put together, Scott, we would put together for this tick list here of the items, a cover letter that could describe for you all of these issues. In terms of, typically you would see this in our seeker submission and in your application, but we can put together a narrative on these for you.
Okay. So we'll have to have all these things as part of the seeker, you're right. Setbacks, minimum lot size, well, we already have established that. Number, size, and location of automobile parking, I see your proposed parking lot. Didn't someone say at one point there's gonna be a garage plan with each of these, or many of these? Did I hear that
I
somewhere?
thought that what I read was that the units were gonna have room for 2 cars, at least the
One in the
3-story
garage.
ones, I believe, underneath the building.
Yes, each individual unit will have at least one car garage associated with it, and there'll also be an exterior parking space beyond that garage as well. And then additional parking spaces obviously scattered around the site.
Yeah, I think I had heard that you were going to have maybe a driveway around the back. Didn't I hear that?
Driveway around the back,
Behind that stretch of 4 homes anyway, but maybe I interpreted it wrong.
yeah, the 4 unit complexes down below, there is an area where it's separated from the restaurant parking down below. We tried to provide some separation, there's a little bit of an elevation rise there as well, so those units should be able to look out over the top of the clubhouse and restaurant out towards the river.
How close are those units going to be to the wall?
To the wall as in.
You know what I mean?
They're basically at the base of the slope.
I've been down there and you can see that there's rocks down there that have come down in time gone by. I don't know how recent, but, I just worry about a
14 years.
rock on top of my house, I don't know if that's a showstopper or,
We'll take a look at it. We'll look.
yeah,
You should see my house.
okay. I mean, it's, not part of the sketch plan, your netting or whatever you would do, but it's still a worry, obviously. Evidence of how the developer's particular mix of land uses meets existing community demands to include area-wide as well as local consideration. We discussed that. Evidence that the proposal is compatible with the goals of local and area-wide plans. Statement as to how common open space is to be owned. We talked about that. If the development is to be phased, the general indication of how the staging is to proceed. I've not heard anything about staging.
We don't plan to stage this. This is a project that we can.
Description of ownership or other demonstration of compliance with 112-40. We'll see how that one works out. Evidence of any sort in applicant's own behalf to demonstrate his competence to carry out the plan and his awareness of the scope of such a project, both physical and financial. That will be something that will go in the planning board process. You know, their character and competency and all that stuff. You know. I mean, I think that, you know, the good part is that the Donovans are well known in the community. That helps a great deal. The engineers, in my conversations, they seem to be very competent, and I've heard good things about the engineering group in the first place, so that's also positive. But then, of course, I'm not the only person who's going to vet this, am I? So what do we do next here, folks? What do you want to do? I'm looking at the board.
Well, I would like more information about the water.
Yeah, right. Well, the question is, are we going to proceed with a PDD with that caveat in the resolution that addresses or speaks of what if the contingent upon water, basically?
That
Is
seems
that a thought?
reasonable to me.
I
It
hear
seems
you.
reasonable to me, because this is gonna be a long process. It's
Well,
gonna
I'm
go
not gonna
through-
throw a resolution in there unless I get a feeling, you know, thoughts from yourselves. I could write a resolution.
Yeah. Well, it's clear that it can't go forward until we have some sort of idea of what's gonna happen with the water, whether it's gonna be public
Right.
or private.
And we
Yeah.
need all the other information from other
Yeah.
planning board, studies and so forth, so.
Right, and we need the map of the adjacent property owners. We don't have that either. And I'd like to see.
Give me a second, I'll write a resolution. Just chit chatter, do what you want, I'll write a resolution.
I'd like to see more of the drainage. too.
And that's, but you know.
I would see the lawyer.
I would like to. I don't
All right, I don't know how good this is, but we'll give it a shot, okay? Are you ready to hear me? Town board? Okay. Whereas the town board of the town of New Baltimore has reviews the proposed planned development district application for development of the Donovan Shady Harbor Marina mixed-use PDD, and whereas the town board has, in its review, found the application complete, and whereas the town board finds the PDD application acceptable, and therefore be resolved, and whereas it is recognized that there remains a concern regarding the water supply for this project, and that the PDD shall be disapproved if that does not occur. I think I need to be more clear on that. If, rephrase that, if the water system is not okay, so I'll start over if you don't mind. Whereas the town board of the town of Baltimore has reviewed the proposed PDD application for development of the Donovan Shady Harbor Marina Mixed Use PDD, and whereas the town board has in its review found the application complete, and whereas the town board finds the application acceptable, and whereas it is recognized that there remains a concern regarding the water supply for this project, and that the PDD shall be disapproved if the water system is not approved. Does that make sense? I can't read my own writing very well, just so you know.
Or secured.
Or secured, thank you, or secured.
But is it the project or is it the district?
The PDD, the
Yeah, the
district.
PDD, yes.
We
Right.
couldn't do a PDD.
Therefore, and I didn't get to my therefore yet.
No, but you put in there that, for the project, if water is not obtained for the project, it
Yeah.
should be for the district, correct?
For the district, thank you,
For the PDD.
PDD. You knew what I was talking about.
I
Okay.
did, but go back 3 months.
Okay.
and-
Yeah, what's he?
That's a lengthy resolution I sat here and wrote.
Yeah, I
so-
know. It's
Okay.
really good.
So, one more time. Whereas the town board of the town of New Baltimore has reviewed the proposed PDD application for development of the Donovan's Shady Harbor Marina Mixed Use PDD, and whereas the town board has in its review found the application complete, and whereas the town board finds the PDD application acceptable, and whereas it is recognized that there remains a concern regarding the water supply for this PDD, that in that the I lost my and that the God bless America.
The PDD shall be disapproved.
The PDD shall be disapproved, thank you, I can read my writing now, thanks. Shall be disapproved if this water system is not secured. Therefore, be it resolved that the Donovan Shady Harbor Marina mixed-use plan is approved and shall and all subsequent referrals shall be initiated.
Could you say and shall be referred to the planning board for further?
Well, I thought there might be more
For
referrals,
further
but shall be
The sketch plan shall be referred to for more detail to the plan.
mixed-use sketch plan
To do that.
Yeah.
is approved and shall be referred to the planning board. Okay, therefore be it resolved that the Donovan Shady Harbor Marina mixed-use sketch plan is approved and shall be approved and be referred to the planning board. Okay, is everyone satisfied with what I've read?
Do we have to say whether or not we're going to have the optional joint meeting?
I think we want to do this first. I think it requires some conversations with yourselves about water. And it requires a separate conversations with the planning board before we Because at this moment, quite honestly, we've not had one of these before. Who does what? Does the planning board sit over here and, I don't even know how that works. Okay, so unless Robbie knows.
I would like to weigh in. This is a Hamlet residential area.
Yeah.
I was asking.
How are we gonna address the zoning? I mean, you need to kind of look at
This
this
is,
first, you
PDD
know?
is allowed in all areas in town.
Yeah, PDD is allowed in all areas regardless of zoning.
So I don't know if we have.
Then none of this will meet any of the regs for housing and stuff.
Which is why you do the PDD.
Yeah. There's a-
So instead of going for a variance or instead of doing that, that's why the code recognizes a PDD.
That's what I was, thank you.
And so instead of going after a variance, you create this PDD.
I was told that by our council that we might have to do a local law, some kind of.
The local law comes at the end of the PDD. So once you go through your planning board process and the site plan, it comes back to the town board. The town board then says, we'll accept this based on these boundaries. And then the surveyed deed description goes into your town code as the PDD
I think,
via local law.
not to cut you off, but again, you did say it right. A PDD can happen regardless of the zoning in any part of town. We can put a planned development district in your backyard. You know, it doesn't matter what the zoning is there, if the town board approves it. And we're not going to, no one's coming up with one, but nevertheless, it's a way around all the zoning sections that exist. So that's what we're doing. So anyway, we have this resolution. I guess we have to make a motion. I'll make the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. So we can have some more discussion. Janet, what do you think?
I'll say aye, looking forward to the information about the,
I didn't
The
call
water
for a
district.
vote. I wanted discussion. But that's okay. You jumped faster than I was ready. But
well, let me say that backwards. I'm looking forward to more information about the water study, because I think that that's really the linchpin of what we need to know.
And that's the
about now.
caveat we spoke of. Yeah, obviously. What about you, Councilwoman Downs?
Well, we're going, if we pass the PDD, does that mean we go right to Delaware Engineering? I mean,
No.
if we pass this motion tonight, do we go right to Delaware Engineering?
Not for my money. No, I think that requires, we need to determine exactly where we're gonna go forward. This takes more conversations with yourselves and perhaps, a couple of us here, about the private-public. We haven't figured that out yet.
Right.
In fact, we probably should, before we leave, let's determine who on the board will sit down and get things going formally with the project folks. But we'll do that after the resolution. So good question. Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Anything else?
And everything that you guys have offered to do, will we be getting that like in the next week?
Well, let me ask the engineer.
I don't see why we can't do it with them next week. The adjoining property owners, I know, ran the survey. It must have been a layer that turned off on the drawing. I apologize for that. The items as far as accessory uses, intensity, floor area ratios, all simple items we can provide in a narrative or add to the site stats on the plan. So yes, I would say within a week.
I don't think you can get the traffic study by.
Oh, no, I wasn't looking for the traffic.
But all of the updated
Right.
material, like we had talked about, yeah. And we would submit that both, by the way, to the planning board as well as to the town board.
Okay, Councilwoman Bennett.
Well, I would personally like to see the water study and some more information on the drainage system and the neighboring, the map of the neighboring property owners before we decide. And we can get that soon. That's just my opinion.
I think that we should move forward. I think that the planning board will have a lot of studies and work to do, and that information is necessary for us to make a decision ultimately. So, I think, that we're in the right place.
So if we go, ahead with this motion and we do it, and some of the information comes back that we're not happy, can we still shut down the PDD?
Yes,
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a
I
one-way
just-
street, guys.
Yeah.
And
Okay?
it's not just the water, we
No.
can just say,
We
these
find out
numbers
something
came
about
back.
Brian and Kathy that we didn't
Yeah.
like, and,
But also, to your point,
no, it's a good point.
drainage issues or, something that at the end of the day, you have to pass a local law to amend this, so.
right,
At
I
any
just,
point.
right, I just didn't.
And you're
wanna
always
get
a part of the
pigeonholed.
conversation.
I'm thinking at this moment, it is not the final.
Yeah.
The final is, we do the PDD, the planning board goes forward with some of the things they need, the secret's gotta be done. All these topics have to be resolved. And then when we think they're at a point of resolution, then we do a local law in which there's a public hearing, and yes, you can speak then,
And you
okay,
can-
as the public. And then we vote on it before it's done. All
Okay,
those
I
things have
just,
to
At
happen.
the very
I just
least,
wanted to make sure we weren't pigeonholed, and the only thing that we could say no to
Yeah.
was the issue of the water. That's all I
no,
wanted.
your code is actually pretty
Yeah,
clear
that's it.
that
We
you
have-
have,
Even if the planning board comes back
Lots of
clean
stuff.
as a whistle, we
All
can
right.
still deny
you
it.
can
So
still
we'd
deny.
like to have that resolution
let me-
checked by the lawyer, nothing personal.
It's okay, you can vote any way you want, I'm not stuck on that. Anyway, there's been a motion made and a motion seconded. We're still in the discussion phase. So carry it on, folks.
So if, the other thing is if we're looking at 2 weeks, right, for the next meeting?
Yes, 2 weeks from tonight.
Okay,
Wednesday.
2 weeks from Wednesday.
2 weeks.
Oh,
from
yes,
now.
thank you. Yes, so we're not gonna do it on,
I'm not meeting on Columbus Day.
we always meet on the second and fourth Mondays, except when a holiday hits.
So my question then is, if we need to have this resolution looked at by the lawyer, our lawyer, how much of a hindrance is it gonna put on everything if we table it to the first meeting of the month?
Well, it's certainly gonna take a long time for them to get it through, so I don't know why it would be a huge hindrance. I agree.
I'm just asking. I mean, that's an option. We'd have all the information back, and on top of that, we'd have time for the lawyer to look at this. That's an option.
Okay. So am I hearing,
I agree with Kelly.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
I'm hearing a preference of the board that we'll need to have a amendment to this. Or we can just make a resolution or to amend this to table it. So,
I think that would make everybody feel more comfortable.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
I think the more information we have, the better going forward, even though it's gonna be a long and complicated process.
I'm just throwing that out there, so
let me see how we do this here. So we're not gonna vote aye or nay.
Is the planning board, I think, is meeting on the 10th?
Aye.
Yeah.
Whatever, yeah, I think you're right.
Okay. And you would meet after the 10th,
We meet on the 16th,
16th. Okay. So this would then.
which means we push it
into
off to the
November.
one in November, yes.
So the planning board then only meets once a month.
Typically, they have met, but not very frequently, more than once. So there is a proviso for an emergency one, but, that's not something we've done with frequency. Robbie, have you ever had more than one? Didn't you have one once for somebody?
Not that I can recall.
What's that?
Not that I can recall, no.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I just, on behalf of my client, I just would put it to the board that this is just a sketch review to send us to the planning board. And you're still gonna receive everything if you, at your next town board meeting, you wanted to rescind that or change it, you have it at your discretion. But that now puts us and my client a month, almost a month and a half behind. And we'd love the ability to see if we can make that 10th planning board to at least give a presentation to them with updated material that the code says. We want to be able to use these winter months now that the place is, you know, closing down for the winter, to be able to see if we can try to get some forward progress. I would say that, you know, if the board wanted to change something in that resolution or stop us in our tracks, so be it. But at least for tonight, we would love to be able to have that referral to the planning board to at least have that initial conversation with the planning board.
I'm not sure we can get you on the agenda at this point anyway. I think we can answer that tonight for October, and May and November regardless.
Okay, well, so I'll need someone to make a motion to table the previously read motion, or resolution. So do I have a motion to table the
I'll make the
resolution?
motion.
Motion made by Councilwoman Burnett. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion made and a motion seconded to table the previously read resolution. I think I'm gonna ask everyone to vote separately. Barbie, you wanna read it out?
Sure. Let me just get. Councilmember Cash?
I'll vote aye, particularly since I'm not sure that we'd be able to get it on the planning board agenda for next week to begin with.
Councilmember Downs?
Aye.
You're up. Supervisor Griswold?
I'm gonna go with the board, so, what did you guys?
Councilmember Bennett?
Aye.
Councilmember Sawalona?
I'm actually gonna say nay.
Yeah, all right, well, it doesn't matter, it's 4 people anyway. I certainly don't like to go contrary to what my board wants, you know, I hate to do that. All right, so we're gonna table this to the next meeting and get this all going. I'm sorry for it not being finalized, but we did make a lot of headway tonight, okay? We did.
No question about it. We appreciate your time on it. It's gonna be, and I know it's one of the first ones that you've gone through on this, and, you know, we want to work with you guys as well. And
Honestly, this is all new territory to everyone on the board, honestly. So I think that it's not so much the project that is of concern. It's, you know, we just don't know what we're doing
Lots of moving
in the
parts.
process. You know, it's not, it's the newness to us is, I think, the problem here. Not
yeah,
so
I
much
would
yourself.
just highlight to you and your attorney the timeframes within your law. And, you know, how we want to
Get this moving. Yeah, I'm
get
with
this
you.
moving, because you know, you have pretty tight timeframes that we're already past, in here, so I just wanna point that out.
Okay. Well, I think our things for the evening, were we gonna discuss anything else that relate? I think what I'll also have is, I don't know, we'll have to think about our next agenda, but this will have to be addressed at the next meeting, in one way or the other. Hearing nothing else from the board, I think I'm gonna call this meeting to adjourn. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second
Motion made and seconded. I know, it's your time. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
How many, large format stuff do you guys have?
Just one. I'd like to have it here. I'm thinking maybe some other place. I wouldn't even mind it. Post office, there's a lot of visit staff, but I don't know if they can accommodate us. I just don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I mean, I know the poster, Tom, he's a pretty decent guy, but he's gonna say, I don't know. I can hear him now.
I won't tell.
So, I think, I really do think we made a lot of it. And again, I think, everything of the ways are all part of it. I had to get on. Not just you.
Yeah, village
I'm sorry, moving forward. All yourselves, can you give me the following favor? Can you ensure that you email not just me, but everybody on the town board? Because you know what, one of the problems was, this stuff on my email, I found it in my spam.
Oh, really? Okay.
I didn't have it right away.
Yeah.
I found, I said, holy shit, it's in my spam. And, you know, I don't check my spam every day. So, and I think it was because of, these. Yeah.
So, one question I
It was a good match.
I'm sorry, I had to ask about rocks.
That's just a requirement.
There's so many other stuff bouncing back and forth, and, you know, all this delay just is, it just
Yeah,
makes
it's
it
just
so
maybe going
much
backwards
for
from
the
the
whole timing.
I understand.
It's just a big deal.
Okay. But we did make it.
You know, and I guess, and you know, if you could at least
So this is,
like I said,
you have
units
going
we need to do that as well.
here.
Can you just refer it to them so that we can do the presentation and then
These will be, top of the structure will be basically the same height as
how long
what
does it
we're
how long does it take?
Who's worried about migrating?
It depends on who you are.
No, I mean,
I really don't know. I don't know.
But maybe, you know, can we at least schedule
yeah, there's,
a joint
one
meeting?
building here.
Maybe that's, you know, to just keep people.
Second floor.
Yeah,
I just,
not bad.
by the time you get to November and there's so many other pieces that are in the puzzle that.
So
we need
it
to-
will block a
I
lot.
don't even know how to preside over it. I really don't. It's not something we done to. And that, by the way, quite frankly, whether we talk about the water district, we never put together a water district.
Right.
You'll probably see
This
the
board.
roof and maybe a little bit.
Okay, the last water district proposal, it was shut down twice.
You'll never see the.
So, you know, we don't
I
wanna
was
do
gonna say,
that.
it's a long time ago.